The derelict station orbited a forgotten moon in the outer reach, a graveyard of humanity's failed expansion dreams. Jackson Harper had drifted there on a salvage hauler, working off his passage by scrubbing plasma conduits. When the crew abandoned him, another mouth they couldn't afford to feed, he found himself alone on the station with nothing but the clothes on his back and 3 days of ration bars. The diner had been closed for 15 years. Jackson discovered it on his second day of exploration, tucked between a gutted hydroponics bay and a collapsed residential wing. The sign still flickered, Stella's Place. Inside, dust coated everything like snow. Broken chairs lay scattered across the floor. The kitchen equipment was ancient but intact. Someone had left in a hurry, leaving behind frozen patties and vacuum-sealed coffee that, miraculously, hadn't expired. He had 2 choices: give up and die, or do something impossible. Jackson chose impossible. 3 months later, the first customer arrived. Anna Reeves piloted a small transport ship, her cargo hold full of medical supplies bound for the frontier colonies. When her navigation system glitched, she dropped out of hyperspace near the abandoned station, looking for somewhere to recalibrate. She'd expected ghosts and silence. Instead, she found a diner with lights on. "Welcome to Stella's," Jackson said, wearing a stained apron he'd found in a storage locker. His beard was unkempt, his eyes tired, but his smile was genuine. "Coffee's fresh." "Sort of." Anna stared at him like he'd grown a second head. "You're living here?" "Running a business," Jackson corrected, gesturing to the patched-up tables and chairs he'd salvaged from across the station. "Have a seat." First meal's free. The coffee was terrible. The reconstituted eggs were worse. But it was hot, and Anna hadn't expected to find anything resembling civilization out here. As she ate, Jackson told her his story, not with self-pity, but with the matter-of-fact tone of someone who'd stopped questioning his circumstances and started working with them. "You should leave," Anna said. "I could give you passage somewhere, anywhere." Jackson shook his head. "This place has potential." Potential was an understatement. Anna spread the word. Within weeks, other ships began stopping by. Smugglers, traders, even a few corporate scouts. The outer reach was a lawless expanse where everyone needed a neutral ground, and Stella's Place became exactly that. Jackson served food and asked no questions. His only rule: no violence inside the diner. That rule was tested when the Vryn arrived. The Vryn were insectoid traders, their chitinous bodies covered in bioluminescent patterns that shifted with their moods. They'd been at war with the Keltak, a reptilian species, for 3 generations. When a Vryn merchant ship and a Keltak destroyer both docked at the station on the same day, everyone expected bloodshed. Jackson simply set 2 tables on opposite sides of the diner and served them both. The Vryn clicked and chittered in their language, antennae twitching aggressively toward the Keltak. The Keltak hissed, their scaled hands hovering near their weapons. The tension was thick enough to cut. Then Jackson brought out the food. "How special," he announced. "Fusion cuisine, human recipe, adapted for your biology." The Vryn received a protein paste infused with pheromone markers that Jackson had painstakingly researched using the station's damage database. The Keltak got flash-seared meat seasoned with thermal salts that activated their heat-sensing organs. Both species ate in silence. Then ate again, and again. By the end of the meal, a Vryn merchant and a Keltak captain were discussing trade routes at neutral ground, Jackson's counter. It was the first peaceful Vryn-Keltak interaction in 30 years. Word spread faster than light. Diplomats came next. Then celebrities. Then entire delegations. Jackson hired staff, refugees like himself, people with nowhere else to go. Anna became his business partner, using her transport connections to source ingredients from across the galaxy. The diner expanded into the abandoned sections of the station, becoming a sprawling cafe with sections tailored to different species' needs. But Jackson never forgot where he'd started. Every morning, he opened the doors himself. Every night, he cleaned the original diner section. The tables he'd first repaired, the counter he'd first scrubbed. He kept the prices low and the portions generous. When refugees arrived with nothing, he fed them for free, just as he'd once had nothing himself. The Galactic Assembly took notice. When tensions between the Vryn Collective and the Keltak Empire reached a breaking point, threatening to engulf entire sectors in war, the Assembly chose Stella's Place as the neutral ground for peace talks. Jackson served coffee to generals and warlords. He brought out plates of food that reminded each species of home. He didn't broker peace, that wasn't his job. But he created a space where peace became possible. The treaty was signed at Table 7, right next to where Jackson had once slept on the floor, wondering if he'd survive another day. 5 years after Jackson had arrived, Stella's Place was the most famous cafe in the galaxy. Ships detoured just to eat there. The waiting list for reservations stretched months. Jackson could have sold the business for a fortune that would set him up for 10 lifetimes. He never did. "This isn't about money," he told Anna one evening. As they watched the dinner rush, Vryn and Keltak eating side by side, humans laughing with silicon-based Korath, a dozen species filling the cafe with the music of life. "Then what's it about?" Anna asked. Jackson smiled, the same genuine smile he'd given her that first day. "Potential. Everyone's got it. Sometimes they just need someone to believe in it first." The diner thrived. And in the darkness of space, on a forgotten station orbiting a forgotten moon, a homeless man had created something that empires couldn't. A place where everyone belonged.